Arguably, the greatest video game console of all time is the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 kind of revolutionized video games as far as bridging that gap from entertainment to home consoles and making everyone interested in video games. I think the library of the PlayStation 2 is absolutely magnificent as well, with tons of games from tons of different developers. So much creativity, so much fun and passion went into these games, and they're really games that stand the test of time. Well, kind of. While the games themselves are great, the visuals of the games haven't really aged all that well. When you go back and try to play some of the old classic PlayStation 2 games, it can be a little bit hard. Some of the graphics are a bit muddy. But what if there was a way to fix that? What if there was a way to make PlayStation 2 games into 4K and make them look modern? Here's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. I mean, the game still looks pretty decent, but what if we can make it look better? And what if it took absolutely no time at all to make it look better? Maybe add in some additional features such as widescreen support and much clearer textures. Well, today we're going to learn just how to do that. Here's Tony Hawk 3, the exact same game, but it looks like a remaster. Like, it literally looks like a remaster. Look at how good and how crystal clear the image quality is on this. What if you want to play some Tekken 5? I mean, one of the most fun Tekken games of all time, in my opinion. Yeah, it looks pretty good still, I think, but you can't really see all the details in the background and the details on the characters on a standard PlayStation 2. But thanks to emulation, well, the world is our oyster, pal. We're seeing everything with crystal clear visuals, and it just really transforms the game. What about Need for Speed Most Wanted? I mean, gosh, this just doesn't age all that well in terms of a racing game, but when we make it look prettier, it definitely ages a lot better. So today we're going to go step by step, and I'm going to show you guys how to play your PlayStation 2 library in beautiful 4K visuals. Let's get started. So you're going to want to open up a web browser and type in PCSX2 and go to the PCSX2 website. Now, this is the emulator that we'll be using. It is a free emulator. Make sure you don't pay anything for it if you find it on some weird place. You can look around on the site if you want, or just go to download. Now, when you go to download, you have two different options here that you can choose from: a stable release or a nightly release. Go with the nightly release because while it's not, you know, quote unquote stable, it's the one that allows you to mess around with things in a much easier way. I've been using the nightly releases of PCSX2 for years now. I've had no issues with them, you know, maybe the occasional crash, but you know, no big deal with this. So go ahead and download it, and then we're going to want to go ahead and extract it. Put it somewhere where it's easy to like access it, you know, or it's not like super hard for you to find it or anything like that, because well, the easier it is, the better it's going to be. And then once we extract everything into a new folder, if you want to do a folder, I'm just trying to make things as easy as possible for myself with this. You go ahead and extract it there, and then we'll take a look at our files. Now, once we take a look at the files, we will see what we need to do next, which will, well, pretty much just consist of double clicking on the file to start the emulator itself. Of course, I'm using Windows. Windows hates all programs. It's not a virus. I don't know why it does that, but we'll go ahead and open it up here. And you can skip all of this. It's not really a big deal, but the next portion is, these are the BIOS files. I can't tell you where to get them, but I can tell you where to go to get them, and that would be Google. PS2 BIOS, and then download them. Once they're in a folder, you will access those BIOS files in here. This will allow you to play PlayStation 2 games. Of course, the legal thing is to rip your own BIOS from your PS2. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Do what you got to do. You could set up a game directory here should you have a folder of games already accessible. Setting up a controller is easy. We go to settings and then down to controllers here. We're going to want to enable X input support. You can see that that has a check mark. That's going to allow us to use just whatever USB style, Xbox 360 style controller that we have. And then you can set up the buttons manually, or you can go over to automatic mapping and choose the controller that you have, and that will set up all of the buttons to work exactly how you would expect them to. If you do run into any problems, however, you can always adjust it by just clicking the button here for the corresponding button and then just pressing it with whatever you need it to be. But that's how you set up a controller. Super easy. So we've opened up Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 once again because I mean, we already took a look at how good the game could look. As you can see here, we are running extremely vanilla on this. This is how it would run on a PlayStation 2. I kind of just want to show you guys the process, and you can actually see it in action when we're choosing some of the different options. Now, you notice we have a toolbar at the top here, and we're going to be utilizing that in just a second here. So let's skate around a little bit, get kind of the visual look of how the game runs, how the game performs. I mean, it's Tony Hawk 3, amazing game, great soundtrack too. I wish I could play some of that AFI for you guys. But let's go ahead and pause it, and we're going to go into our settings, and we're going to check out some things here under graphics. Now, this is kind of important. A lot of this is contingent on your video card. Now, I have a 3080 that I'm using here. You'll want to use your video card. Make sure that you choose the right one. Sometimes it could be a little bit weird. And you want to use Vulkan as the renderer. When you look at some of the things here, we can go from 4:3 into widescreen, and you could see an immediate result. If you want to do some different things as far as the bilinear filtering is concerned, you could kind of see how it changes from sharp to soft. You know, it's really just personal preference as far as what you want out of that. It's really more so about the rendering side of things that we're going to be focusing on. We do want to turn on anti-blur, and we want to turn on VSync, because that's going to make the image look a lot better as well. Going over to rendering, we're at native PS2. Well, let's bump that up to 4K resolution, and you could just see right then and there, like, the night and day difference as far as how much better and how much clearer it looks. Like, a lot of these PlayStation 2 games just have amazing visuals that are just hidden under these things. We want to turn on some anisotropic filtering, crank that bad boy all the way up to 16 times to make it look even better. You could go to post-processing and choose some of that to make it a bit more sharper. You know, really just play around with some of those things. Like I said, it's kind of contingent on your video card as far as what you can handle, but the end result is absolutely amazing. Like, even if you need to do just 1080p, like, it makes such a huge difference. Now look at the game. It really looks like Tony Hawk 3 remastered. Like, if they did a remaster of this game, this is probably pretty similar, pretty close to how it would look. And you still get that classic PlayStation 2 gameplay. And that's, you know, just so important with this stuff. And really, that's all you need to do. These settings will transfer over from game to game. Now, some games you'll have to adjust some of the settings on the fly, which, you know, not a big deal, because now you know how to do it. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. I want to go over a couple more things with you guys before we're done, but that's pretty much it. So is it really that easy? I mean, yes, it is. I showed you step by step how to set up everything. Then you just got to find the games themselves, which, once again, I'm not going to tell you where to go for that, but a quick Google search, you will find a plethora of PS2 games, or maybe you bought some of the hard drives that I've talked about on this channel before. You can always transfer those games from the hard drive onto your computer. The main thing is, it's all kind of contingent on your video card. Now, with the later nightly builds that we've been getting, everything is much more optimized, so you don't necessarily need all that power to get the most out of the games. All these games are running at 60 frames per second like they should, and everything just looks really fun. It's just a great way to play through some PS2 games that maybe you skipped out on, or maybe you were too young for the PlayStation 2 era. You got into gaming a bit later, and now you kind of look at those PS2 games and you're like, they look a little bit crusty. But if we can make them look better, then that's all that really matters. Let me know in the comment section down below, though, if you have any questions. I probably won't be around to answer them, but I'm sure there'll be some people in the comments that will help you guys out, because I am the king of emulation, and I cultivate an emulation community. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Doing that will let me know to do more tutorials like this, so you can play all of your video games in beautiful 4K. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.